Hey everyone, Mike here in the BFH garage, getting ready to do a re-gear and install an ARB air locker in a Jeep Wrangler JL front Dana 44. Before you can do that though, you have to disconnect the FAD, known as the front axle disconnect. So this video is going to pertain to that. We're going to get this housing out of here. We're going to get that disconnected so we can get our axle shafts out. All right, the first thing we want to do is get this cover off. And these are held in by 4 10mm bolts. Next up, you have 4 13mm bolts that hold the actual actuator in there. We need to pull that out. Now, when you pull this out, there's a chance you may drip some gear oil, so you may want to get a bucket underneath to catch all that. Next, we need to remove the housing. Now, because there's a gasket between here, it might be stuck a little bit, just get a little rubber mallet or a dead blow and gently tap right there. You still have a gasket in there we want to use. Gently tap just to break that seal, and then this will pull straight out. When you pull straight out, you're going to see the fork here. The fork needs to line up with this collar right here when you go to put it back in, and when you activate it to go into four-wheel drive, then this motor moves the fork over and engages the four-wheel drive. When you're in two-wheel drive, it moves it back over and disconnects that shaft. To better demonstrate how this works, right now the collar is in the unlocked position. So if I turn the outer wheel bearing, you're going to see how the inner axle doesn't spin with it. So what that does, that makes that disconnect there, and that helps manufacturers get that better gas mileage. Believe me, they don't do this for strength thinking that somebody, there's a wise idea for off-roading. This is something for them to get better gas mileage, and that's it. So when you activate four-wheel drive, this collar, is that your front axle spinning just slowly, the collar will engage like that, and then you'll notice that it spins the other side as well. So everything's engaged here. This would be in four-wheel drive. And when you disengage, it slides back over, and then that axle's a free spin again. Now the process for getting all this out is fairly straightforward. Remove your 3 13mm bolts from your unit bearing, and you're going to pull your axle shaft straight out. Now don't forget, you have a seal in here, so you don't want to damage that seal. Try to pull your axle shaft out without damaging that seal. As I pull this off, this collar is just going to fall right down to the bottom. Now the collar slides right off of that other axle shaft. And we can pull it straight out. I'm going to set it in there and let it drain out a little bit. Now we need to get the inner shaft out. And the way we're going to do that is you're going to put your fingers in there and pull the shaft over. And what it's going to do is it's going to expose this C-clip in there. You see you have a C-clip there. All you have to do is get a little screwdriver or something and pry that clip out. Once you get the clip pushed back, you can rotate the pinion and turn it towards you. And you grab the clip with a pair of pliers and pull it right out. Just like that. With that being done, now you can slide this axle shaft over and get it out of the carrier. Now we don't have to pull it all the way out. We can let it sit right there while we do the re-gear. All right, now when you go to put this thing back together, it is the exact opposite of what you did. You're going to slide that shaft back in through your carrier or your locker, in this case here. You're going to attach that C-clip, push it all the way in. You're going to get your collar that goes on there, take your outer shaft, put it in, make sure that collar lines up to that outer shaft, get your outer shaft reattached, put your cover back on, put your skid plate back on, blah, blah, blah. One thing I want to caution you is if your gasket doesn't come off, like this one's stuck right here and I'm fine with that, just be careful if you're doing work. You don't want to booger up any of that gasket and get a leak there. So that's it. Really straightforward, although a mystery because it's relatively new, but that's the way that's done.